They fought and argued over fuel deliveries. They've blamed each other for bomb attacks. Now the cycle of tension between Russia and Georgia has clearly escalated again after a violent incident along the Georgia-Abkhazia border. Farid Barsoum has more.
Tension spilling over. The dispute over the separatist region of Abkhazia that borders Georgia turned nasty when Russian peacekeepers scuffled with Georgian police forces. The two sides have disputed control of Abkhazia for years, Moscow backing the separatist region in its repeated conflicts for independence with neighboring Georgia. Russian peacekeepers were operating on the Georgian side of the border. They insist that Georgian police were antagonizing their forces, saying that some officers threatened to shoot if they didn't back away. The Russians retaliated strongly. They wrestled down and arrested 5 Georgian policemen, clearly intent on showing their muscle. This officer is clearly receiving punches to the face. Russian military officials deny that any of the Georgians were beaten. The incident was enough to summon Georgia's president to the scene, pointing the finger of blame directly at the Russians and a stern warning to the commanding officer.
This morning you have attacked the checkpoint and violated your mandate and all international norms. You have beaten up our policemen who are protecting peaceful citizens here. Immediately get your people out of here. Our patience is finished. We have ordered our military to defend with all possible means and resources. And as you are aware, we have resources.
Georgia has placed its military on high alert and will demand that the UN remove Russia from the region's peacekeeping mission. The fact that this incident was caught by TV cameras and that the Georgian president's warning was so public will no doubt get the attention of Moscow and its ire. President Putin has not backed away from intimidating pro-Western former Soviet republics. Moscow will no doubt use this incident to once again show Russia's resurgence to the region and the world. Farid Barsoum, Al Jazeera.
This is the footage Georgian authorities claim shows a Russian jet trespassing into its airspace and firing on one of its unmanned reconnaissance planes. Georgia's Air Force says the video was filmed from the drone's onboard camera. It says it's proof that a Russian MiG-29 launched a missile at a Georgian plane as it flew over the breakaway Abkhazia region.
This act is a flagrant violation of the UN Charter. This is an act of international aggression. This is the bombing of a territory of a sovereign state without any kind of provocation, without any legitimate grounds. This is a flagrant violation of international laws.
While Georgia is calling this an act of aggression against its country, Moscow has immediately denied the claim, saying no Russian planes have been flying in the region at that time. The Kremlin has issued a statement saying Vladimir Putin expressed his bewilderment that Georgia's making flights with military purposes over the conflict zone, that this is a destabilizing factor escalating tension. Tensions are already running high between the two neighbors over Georgian breakaway regions Abkhazia and South Ossetia. Last week, Georgia accused Russia of trying to annex the two republics by deciding to seek closer ties with them. With this latest war of words, those tensions look set to escalate further. Tessa Parry-Wingfield, Al Jazeera.
The former Soviet state of Georgia will go to the polls on Saturday in a presidential election seen as a test of the country's commitment to democracy.
Well, President Mikhail Saakashvili is likely to win another term, but he'll also be trying to restore his image after sanctioning heavy-handed tactics against opposition supporters. Jonah Hull reports now on the final campaigning from the Georgian capital, Tbilisi.
New Year celebrations on the steps of Parliament, a scene far removed from the now infamous events of November the 7th that led to an early presidential poll. Then, 5 days of opposition protests outside Parliament ended with a police crackdown, the closure of an opposition-run TV station and a 9-day state of emergency. They call President Mikhail Saakashvili an autocrat. His free market reforms that have globalized Georgia's economy have failed, they say, to address the needs of ordinary people. The violence horrified Georgians, empowered the opposition and damaged the country's progressive economic and democratic image abroad.
These actions, especially when viewed from afar and especially when viewed on a television screen or whatnot, certainly are not pleasant and certainly could have alarmed a lot of people, but that is why we are constantly engaging in a dialogue, and that is why at this point in time the sole focus of the international community with regard to Georgia is on January the 5th and the conduct of the free and fair elections.
Not far from the capital, Tbilisi, is the city of Rustavi. Once a model of Soviet industrial might, today its factories lie abandoned, relics of a near-forgotten era. The population is poor, unemployment high. Around a quarter of all Georgians live below the poverty line.
There are a lot of problems. There are no jobs. I am unemployed myself, and I cannot find work.
What difference does it make? For me, the most important thing is to have work. Nothing else matters.
Most Georgians appreciate that things are better than they were. There is gas, electricity and roads. But low earnings and high prices mean the pace of day-to-day change is painfully slow. Saakashvili has urged patience. His campaign promises an end to poverty and accelerated social reforms. Polls suggest he is ahead of an opposition that makes similar promises, but remains divided in support of several candidates.
I will bring the changes for the ordinary people, so they will be much more peaceful, and there will be the changes in democratic ways.
The presidential poll falls between New Year and the Orthodox Christmas, a time when most Georgians would prefer to see this political crisis quickly resolved rather than deepen any further. At least that's Saakashvili's gamble. The Rose Revolution that Saakashvili led 5 years ago brought democratic freedoms and the hope of a better life to millions in what was then a failed post-Soviet state. He was hailed and courted by the West, his country rapidly drawn away from Russia's influence. But while the economy has surged, opposition has grown too. Saakashvili's gamble makes victory neither easy nor inevitable. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, Tbilisi, Georgia. Inga Joyeva and her 2 daughters are among the hundreds of mothers and children who've left South Ossetia over the past few days.
Of course it's better for us here. We couldn't help our children there. There were constant explosions. The children were very scared.
Since Saturday, busloads of so-called evacuees have crossed the border into the neighbouring Russian Republic of North Ossetia. So-called evacuees because Georgia insists they're merely on an annual summer holiday. Inga says no.
How can it be a holiday? An 8-month-old girl came with us. Why would she be coming here on holiday?
The women and children say they fled fierce fighting that allegedly saw Georgian forces shelling the South Ossetian capital Skinvali over the weekend. 6 people were killed, many more injured. Georgian forces say they responded to incoming fire and did not attack any civilian areas. South Ossetia and neighbouring Abkhazia have been the focus of growing tensions and sporadic violence for months as the separatist governments of both regions press their claim of independence from Georgia. Russia has offered them support and vows not to stand by if Georgia attempts to reclaim its territory by force. As talk of Georgian, Russian and separatist force build-ups continues, South Ossetian women and children feel safer across the border in Russia. This group of almost 50 is being housed in college dormitories in the sleepy Russian town of Beslan. It is no small irony that Beslan was the scene of Russia's worst terror attack in 2004. Hundreds of school children perished here. Nobody knows for sure, of course, whether there is going to be a new conflict in the North Caucasus. Most people hope there won't be. But the evacuation of children amid violence from a frozen conflict zone is the most tangible sign yet that things may be about to go wrong. Claim and counterclaim about acts of violence and conflict readiness have led to suggestions that war is inevitable. If so, it could be a region-wide confrontation far worse than separatist wars in the 90s.